Lights, camera, action, and welcome to Soundtrack Collector, your channel for insights about music composed and recorded for the screen. I'm your host, Christopher Spencer, author of Film and Television Soundtracks 1950 to 1979, A Critical History, published by McFarlane and Company. Now, this channel is for anyone who enjoys movie music and wants to know more about it. Each episode of Soundtrack Collector will tackle a unique topic, such as a particular composer or notable soundtracks within a given genre, such as spy thrillers, which happens to be the topic of this video, specifically the James Bond film franchise. So be sure to like, subscribe, share, and leave a comment. I'd love to chat about soundtracks with you. Now, the James Bond film franchise has showcased a range of composers, each adding their distinct style to its iconic sound. The scores and themes share several defining characteristics. Instrumentally, they blend jazz, rock, electronic, and orchestral elements with prominent brass and horns, creating a bold sound. Complex chord progressions, often featuring the distinctive Bond chord with its dissonant, ambiguous harmony, are a hallmark. Harmonically, Bond music is primarily written in minor keys, frequently using minor major seventh chords to evoke a spy movie atmosphere. Unexpected chord shifts, chromatic movements, and intricate harmonies add depth and intrigue. In terms of tempo, the classic Bond themes are often slower ballads, around 70 beats per minute, while modern themes range from 70 to 110 beats per minute, incorporating contemporary styles while referencing the traditional Bond motifs. Now, vocally and instrumentally, early Bond themes prominently featured sultry female voices, later expanding to include male vocalists. Electric guitar with lots of reverb and orchestral arrangements with strings and horns are key signatures. Legendary composers like John Barry and David Arnold have been pivotal in shaping and evolving the timeless Bond sound across the decades. To give you a thorough overview of the series, I'll go through each film score and theme chronologically, tier ranking the scores and themes as I go. Stick around until the end to see how the scores and the themes stack up against each other. Naturally, these rankings will be my opinion, informed by countless hours of listening to 007 soundtracks, but I welcome your comments about your rankings below. So, without further ado, let's begin. Monty Norman scored Dr. No in 1962. The iconic James Bond theme, based on an earlier composition by Norman, was arranged by John Barry, sparking speculation about authorship because of it resembled some of Barry's own compositions that he recorded with his group, the John Barry Seven. Now, two court cases, most recently in 2001, confirmed Monty Norman as the composer. Later Bond composer David Arnold has praised this theme as cocky, swaggering, confident, dark, dangerous, suggestive, sexy, and unstoppable. Dr. No is atypical of 007 soundtracks to come, as it blends calypso and jazz and generally eschews the bombastic passages that Bond movies became famous for. However, its main theme established the series' signature sound and cemented the James Bond theme as a cultural icon. I rank the score as C tier and the theme as S tier. Before we continue with the series, it's worth taking a moment to consider the enormous impact that John Barry had on the series, starting with and following Dr. No. Barry, who composed scores for 11 Bond films, more than any other composer, defined the quintessential Bond sound. Now, his scores feature lush orchestrations with a strong emphasis on brass and strings, seamlessly incorporating the James Bond theme in various arrangements to heighten suspense and drama. Barry's ability to create memorable title songs, often tied to elements of the main theme, further enriched the Bond experience. He also tailored his scores to each film setting, employing unique instruments such as the cymbalum in From Russia with Love and the koto in You Only Live Twice, demonstrating his versatility and creativity in shaping the iconic musical legacy of 007. From Russia with Love in 1963 marked John Barry's debut as the primary composer for the 007 film series. The theme song, composed by Lionel Bart and sung by Matt Monro, is introduced instrumentally in the opening titles and later performed vocally over the end credits, making it atypical of the series overall. Now, the film also introduced Barry's 007 theme, a lighter and more adventurous secondary Bond theme designed to ease tension during action scenes. Overall, I give the score an A tier and the theme a B tier. Goldfinger in 1964 is regarded as one of Barry's finest works. Barry himself considered Goldfinger a milestone as it was the first Bond film where he had full creative control over both the score and the title song. Reflecting the film's golden metallic theme, the music prominently features brass and metallic chimes described as brassy and raunchy with sassy sexiness. The title song, performed by Shirley Bassey, established the tradition of pop-inspired Bond themes introduced during the opening title sequence. Composed by Barry with lyrics by Anthony Newley and Leslie Bricusse, the track became iconic, showcasing Bassey's powerful delivery and heavily incorporating brass elements. The score and the theme are both S tier. Thunderball in 1965 marked John Barry's third James Bond score. The original theme song, Mr. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, was inspired by an Italian journalist's nickname for James Bond. It was first recorded by Shirley Bassey, but later re-recorded by Dionne Warwick to extend its instrumental introduction. Now, however, the film's producers ultimately rejected the song, fearing a Bond theme without the film's title in the lyrics would be ineffective. Barry collaborated with lyricist Don Black to create a new theme, Thunderball, performed by Tom Jones. Legend has it that Tom Jones fainted after sustaining the song's final big note. Well, due to time constraints, the initial LP release of the soundtrack only featured music from the first half of the movie. The later CD release contains music from throughout the film and is among the most satisfying soundtracks in the canon. Score, S tier. Theme, A tier. For You Only Live Twice in 1967, Barry infused the score with Japanese-inspired elements to reflect the film's setting, aiming for an elegance of the Oriental sound. Notably, the film introduces another key Bond theme, Capsule in Space. This theme creates a sense of tension and foreboding through use of 4 guitar chords. David Arnold, who later composed 5 Bond films, cited it as his favorite Barry cue, noting how it effectively conveyed that something horrible is going to happen. Now, variants of this cue, such as 007 and Counting from Diamonds Are Forever, can be found throughout the series. It even served as material for a trip-hop recording by Grant B. called Timber and was referenced by Michael Giacchino's score for The Incredibles. The title song was performed by Nancy Sinatra after her father Frank declined the opportunity, not the first or last time that he did that. 2 versions of the title song exist: the original movie soundtrack version, known for its iconic opening bars and Oriental flair, and a record release arranged by Billy Strange. Both the score and the theme are S tier. Now, the soundtrack for On Her Majesty's Secret Service in 1969 is widely regarded as one of the best in the Bond series. This was John Barry's 6th consecutive score, and it introduced a more aggressive electronic sound, aiming to compensate for Sean Connery's absence in the lead role by being beyond Bondian. The title theme, an instrumental piece, was chosen over a vocal track due to the challenge of setting the title to lyrics. Built around a bass line, it was praised as a Moog-driven monster, perfect for action sequences like skiing. It was later covered by the electronic group Propellerheads, on their album Sex, Drums, and Rock and Roll. Berry also composed We Have All the Time in the World, a love song performed by Louis Armstrong with lyrics by Hal David. Used during the Bond-Tracy courtship montage, the song was recorded in just one take due to Armstrong's declining health. It achieved renewed popularity in 1994, reaching number 3 in the UK charts, and was later featured in No Time to Die's closing credits. Both the score and the theme are S tier. Berry scored Sean Connery's return in Diamonds Are Forever in 1971, and Shirley Bassey made her second appearance in the series for the title song. Berry used a unique electronic organ to craft a sparkling sound for the title song, beginning with an 8-note ostinato that evoked the glittering quality of diamonds. To keep the ostinato fresh throughout the score, Berry varied its use in each appearance while retaining its distinctive 8-note pattern. Beyond its musical allure, Berry used this shimmering accompaniment narratively, associating it with moments of uncertainty for Bond, effectively mirroring his psychological state. Now, this combination of musical innovation and narrative depth captured the essence of Diamonds and enriched the film's storytelling. Both the score and the theme are S tier. Filling in for Berry on the next film, Beatles producer George Martin brought a fresh sound to the Bond franchise for his score for Live and Let Die from 1973. He introduced contemporary musical elements such as the funky sounds of early 70s action films and, of course, rock music. The title song by Paul McCartney and Wings became the first rock song to open a Bond film and was a commercial success, peaking at number 2 in the US and number 9 in the UK. Nominated for an Academy Award, it remains one of the most iconic Bond themes. Martin's innovative approach made Live and Let Die a distinctive and memorable entry in the Bond musical legacy. Score gets an A tier and theme is S tier. John Barry returned for The Man with the Golden Gun in 1974, but he only had 3 weeks to compose the score and considered it one of his weakest works as a result, a sentiment shared by critics, by the way. Notably, it was the first Bond film to omit the signature plucked guitar in the gun barrel opening. The theme song was performed by Scottish singer Lulu, composed by Barry with lyrics written by Don Black. Despite its Bond legacy, this song was criticized for its lyrics, which were described as ludicrous and one long stream of smut due to the heavy sexual innuendo. Interestingly, the rocker Alice Cooper also wrote a song titled Man with the Golden Gun for the film, but it was rejected in favor of Lulu's version. One can only wonder, right? The score is C tier, the theme is D tier. In Barry's absence, Marvin Hamlish brought a more pop-oriented sound to the hit movie A Spy Who Loved Me in 1977, incorporating disco elements to reflect the musical trends of the late 70s. Hamlish's score also featured a disco rendition of the James Bond theme titled Bond 77 alongside classical pieces by Bach, Mozart, and Chopin. He also wove in popular movie themes by Maurice Jarre from Dr. Zhivago and Lawrence of Arabia. Now, this unique blend of disco, classical, and cinematic influences made the soundtrack kind of distinctive and a memorable entry for the Bond franchise. Carly Simon performs the iconic theme song, Nobody Does It Better. As the first Bond theme with a title different from the film, the song achieved widespread success. Its enduring appeal has seen it featured in films like Lost in Translation and Bridget Jones' The Edge of Reason. Overall, I give the score C tier and the theme is S tier. John Barry returned for Moonraker in 1979. It also marked Shirley Bassey's third Bond theme. Initially, they approached Frank Sinatra and also Kate Bush, but both declined. Johnny Mathis actually began recording the theme but couldn't complete it. leading to Bassi being recruited just weeks before the film's premiere. Now, due to the last-minute nature of the project, Bassi never really fully embraced the song as her own and did not promote it. Two versions of the theme were featured in the film, a ballad for the opening titles and a disco version for the closing credits. The soundtrack, of course, marked a stylistic shift in John Barry's work, favoring lush string arrangements over his earlier brass-heavy scores. Barry also revisited earlier motifs, including 007 from Diamonds Are Forever and Bond Smells a Rat, first heard in From Russia with Love. Additionally, classical music pieces were incorporated yet again into the film's score, adding its own rich musical texture. Between the two, I'd say both the score and the theme are B tier. Bill Conti, known for his work on Rocky and the Karate Kid, composed the score For Your Eyes Only in 1981 after John Barry declined due to tax reasons. Much like Marvin Hamlish a few years earlier, Conti blended Barry-inspired brass elements with dance and funk influences, creating a fresh sound for the Bond series in the 80s. Now, the score divided critics. Some called it frustrating, while others praised it as one of the best Bond scores of the decade. The title song was performed by Sheena Easton, the first and only singer to appear on screen during a Bond title sequence. The producers had initially approached Blondie's Debbie Harry, but she declined when they rejected her track, which she later released on Blondie's album, The Hunter. Now, I give the score C tier and the theme A tier. John Barry returned to compose his ninth Bond score for Octopussy in 1983 to assert the film as an official Bond installment against the concurrent release of Never Say Never Again. Barry frequently incorporated the James Bond theme and avoided overusing Indian instruments like the sitar, despite the fact that the movie takes place in India, because he felt like it didn't have the dramatic impact he wanted. He also co-wrote the opening theme, All Time High, with lyricist Tim Rice. Performed by Rita Coolidge, this song became a chart success, spending 4 weeks at number 1 on the U.S. Adult Contemporary chart, reaching number 36 on the Billboard Hot 100. Nonetheless, both the theme and the score, they fall short of iconic Bond. Scores for both, C tier. The soundtrack for A View to a Kill in 1985, Roger Moore's last outing as Bond, was Barry's 10th and penultimate contribution to the series. Now, the theme song, co-written by Barry and Duran Duran and performed by the band, became a standout success, reaching number 2 in the UK singles chart and became number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 in the US, the highest charting Bond theme at that time. Now, legend has it that Duran Duran was chosen after bassist John Taylor, a big Bond fan, approached producer Albert Broccoli at a party and cheekily asked when they would actually hire someone decent to do a theme song. Well, the soundtrack primarily featured Barry's original compositions with elements from On Her Majesty's Secret Service, repurposed for tracks like Snow Job and Golden Gate Fight. Mayday Jumps is the only track to include the James Bond theme. Overall, I rank the score and the theme B tier. The Living Daylights in 1987, starring Timothy Dalton in his first appearance as 007, was John Barry's final Bond score, blending orchestral arrangements with sequenced electronic rhythms, a bold innovation for the series at that time. Now, the title song, co-written by members of a-ha, resulted in 2 versions due to creative differences. Breaking tradition, the film featured different songs for the opening and end credits. The Pretenders performed If There Was a Man as the love theme and Where Is Everybody Gone, tied to the villain Necros and integrated into the score. Producers opted for a-ha as the title song performers to sort of replicate the chart success of Duran Duran's A View to a Kill. Classical music, reflecting Bond girl Cara Malovi's role as a cellist, features prominently with pieces like by Mozart, Strauss, and Tchaikovsky, the latter performed on screen by Kara and conducted by Barry. The film's innovative mix of pop and classical elements cements its unique place in the Bond franchise. Overall, the score is A tier, and the theme is B tier. Michael Kamen brought a grittier, action-driven edge to the License to Kill soundtrack in 1989, reflecting Timothy Dalton's darker portrayal of James Bond. Now, known for his work on Lethal Weapon and Die Hard, Kamen incorporated rock drums and broke from the traditional orchestral style in the gun barrel sequence, emphasizing a more violent and intense Bond. Replacing John Barry due to health issues, Kamen successfully retained the Bond musical legacy while integrating contemporary and high-energy elements, making the score a distinctive entry in the franchise. Now, while Kamen's approach is refreshing and reflects Dalton's more aggressive, no-nonsense approach to the role, the soundtrack release itself is front-loaded with pop songs, relegating the film cues to the second half, making for a rather dissatisfying listening experience overall. Initially, Vic Flick and Eric Clapton were approached for the theme song, but the producers ultimately chose Gladys Knight's version, which paid homage to Goldfinger with its iconic horn motif. The score and the theme are both B tier. Eric Serra composed the soundtrack for GoldenEye in 1995, introducing a synthesizer-heavy style that divided critics and audiences alike. Now, many felt this experimental approach clashed with the franchise's established musical identity, but it also reflected the direction of many modern action movie scores at the time. Director Martin Campbell notably replaced Serra's original track for the St. Petersburg tank chase with John Altman's more traditional symphonic piece, though Serra's version, A Pleasant Drive in St. Petersburg, still appears on the soundtrack. While controversial, the GoldenEye score remains a bold and unconventional entry in Bond's musical legacy. The theme song for GoldenEye, written by Bono and The Edge of U2 and performed memorably by Tina Turner, marked a departure from the tradition as it did not influence the film's score. Overall, the score is B tier and the theme is actually A tier. David Arnold's debut Bond score for Tomorrow Never Dies in 1997 is widely regarded as one of the best in the franchise. Arnold skillfully blends 1960s-style jazz nostalgia with contemporary techno thriller vibes, creating a dynamic and sophisticated soundtrack. He collaborated with the electronic group Propellerheads for the iconic car chase sequence, incorporating innovative beats while staying true to the Bond legacy. The superb title song, Surrender by Katie Lang, was unfortunately relegated to the end credits as MGM opted for the more high-profile Sheryl Crow, her inferior Tomorrow Never Dies song as the main theme. Arnold's work reimagined the Bond sound for a modern era while honoring its classic roots, solidifying him as a worthy successor to John Barry. Now, while Surrender is S-tier material, we can't count it as it was not used for the opening credit sequence. So overall, the score is A tier and Sheryl Crow's theme, C tier. Arnold continued to innovate with his score for The World Is Not Enough in 1999, merging urban beats and electronic percussion with traditional orchestral elements. His music featured 2 new themes, which were later reused in Die Another Day, the next film. Now, the title song, performed by Garbage and co-written with Don Black, was critically acclaimed and consistently ranks among the best latter-day Bond themes. Arnold's score highlighted his ability to balance modernity with the franchise's timeless musical style, earning praise for its versatility and creativity. Both the score and the theme are B tier. Arnold's score for Die Another Day in 2002 leaned heavily on synthetic elements, pushing the Bond sound into bold new territory. While this experimental approach received mixed reactions from fans and critics, it demonstrated Arnold's willingness to evolve the franchise's music. The title track, performed by Madonna, was equally divisive, blending electronica with orchestral tones to reflect Bond's torture sequence in the opening credits. Though polarizing, the song actually earned both Golden Globe and Grammy nominations. Still, I find it one of the more forgettable Bond themes. The score is C tier, the theme is D tier. Arnold's fourth Bond score for Casino Royale in 2006, Daniel Craig's first appearance in the series, is widely regarded as one of his finest. The score masterfully blended classic Bond elements with modern sensibilities, delivering a triumphant and sophisticated orchestral sound. Arnold incorporated the title song, You Know My Name, composed and performed by Chris Cornell of Soundgarden, throughout the film's music as a substitute for the iconic James Bond theme, symbolizing Bond's youth and inexperience. Now, the traditional Bond theme only appears during the end credits, marking the completion of Bond's character arc. Now, You Know My Name was an up-tempo, an aggressive departure from traditional Bond themes, aligning with Daniel Craig's edgier, younger portrayal of the character. Now, while the song received mixed reviews, it was praised for its integration into the film's score, effectively balancing orchestral and electronic elements to enhance the narrative. I give both the score and the theme an A-tier ranking. Arnold's score for Quantum of Solace in 2008 took a more subdued and introspective tone, mirroring James Bond's emotional state in the film following the events of Casino Royale. While some critics praised the score as Arnold's best work, others felt it lacked strong thematic identity, partly due to his non-involvement in the title song. Well, the score incorporated recurring motifs from Casino Royale, offering continuity between the films, and featured layered, subtle approach rather than bombastic highlights. The title song, Another Way to Die, marked the first duet in Bond history performed by Jack White of the White Stripes and solo artist Alicia Keys. Recorded in Nashville, the track blended White's and Keys' distinctive styles, somewhat awkwardly, drawing inspiration from John Barry's On Her Majesty's Secret Service score. Earlier efforts by Mark Ronson and Amy Winehouse were abandoned due to Winehouse's personal struggles. Now, the score for Quantum of Solace is B tier. The theme, C tier. Thomas Newman brought a subtle, atmospheric approach to Skyfall's score in 2012, marking his first contribution to the Bond series and becoming the 9th composer in the franchise's history. A longtime collaborator with director Sam Mendes, Newman emphasized tension-building compositions with minimal reliance on the traditional Bond theme, favoring unconventional instruments and sound design. British singer-songwriter Adele performed the theme song Skyfall, co-written with her usual collaborator Paul Epworth. The song became an instant classic, earning an Academy Award for Best Original Song and the first Bond theme to win this accolade. It also won the Brit Award for Best British Single. Now, the score also incorporated notable tracks like Charles Trenet's Baum during scenes on Silva's abandoned island and the Animals' Boom Boom in the climactic assault on Skyfall. I give the score an A tier and the theme is S tier. Newman returned for Spectre in 2015, continuing his understated approach to the Bond series. In a departure from typical scoring practices, Newman composed much of the score during production rather than waiting for post-production. The score included a nod to John Barry's On Her Majesty's Secret Service theme, yet again, which was featured in the theatrical trailer. For the title song, Writings on the Wall, Eon Productions selected Sam Smith, who co-wrote the song with Jimmy Napes. Now, completed in under 30 minutes, the demo for that song was used as the final version. While the song received mixed reviews, it became the first Bond theme to top the UK singles chart and actually won both the Academy Award and the Golden Globe for Best Original Song. Earlier submissions by Radiohead and Lana Del Rey were ultimately rejected. The score and the theme are both B tier. Hans Zimmer composed the score for No Time to Die in 2021, infusing the Bond soundtrack with his signature epic style. His approach blended electronic elements with traditional orchestration and reimagined the Bond theme with a modern, grandiose feel. Zimmer replaced Dan Romer, who left the project in late 2019 due to creative differences, marking the first time in the franchise's history that a composer was replaced during post-production. Johnny Marr contributed on guitar, much like he had on Zimmer's score for Inception. Billie Eilish performed the title theme No Time to Die, co-written and produced with her brother Phineas O'Connell. The song made Eilish the youngest artist to record a Bond theme and earned a Grammy Award for Best Song Written for Visual Media before the film's release. The soundtrack also featured nods to Bond's musical legacy, including Louis Armstrong's We Have All the Time in the World, a recurring motif that ties the film's emotional themes to Bond's legacy, playing in full during the closing credits. Score is A tier and the theme is B tier. So let's take another look at these rankings. The S tier scores represent a 5-movie run from 64 to 71, arguably a period that established the franchise as iconic and a perennial favorite. The A tier has representative scores from every decade and reflects the strength of the scores during the Daniel Craig era. S tier themes lean heavily on the 60s and 70s, and the theme tier ranking shows a more extreme range from sublime to dismal. So what are your favorite 007 scores and themes? Do you love a bombastic orchestral approach or something more pop-oriented or a blend of orchestral and electronic? Leave your comments below. If you had to take just one 007 score to a desert island, what would it be? I think mine would be the extended Thunderball score. Now, future episodes will explore the history of science fiction scores over the decades, and more composer profiles are on the way, including one on Ennio Morricone, Michael Giacchino, and many others. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Until next time, keep listening.